You know, the real spirit Halloween isn't just a place you go in October to find costumes. It's the spirit that lives within you all year round. Happy October! Hi, by the way. So October is finally here, and for everyone who says fall is their favorite season, they are loving it. And if it's not October when you're watching this, sorry, I guess. Just wait a little while. So it's spooky and scary all around and people thinking it's okay to wear witch hats outside all the time now. I want to talk a little bit about what scary actually is. Boo! Now answer honestly, was that scary? Probably not. So I find it a real problem when it comes to scary stuff or like spooky things or horror movies or like even corn mazes, like haunted corn mazes. A lot of that stuff just kind of isn't scary. Yeah, you'll jump a little bit and that's fine and that's fun and it gets your adrenaline rushing while you're with your friends and that's great. I like that. I do that like every year with my friends. But it's not scary. Like, you know those haunted houses where like the actors are allowed to touch you and like grab you and pull you away from your friends and stuff? I wouldn't really consider that scary. Unfortunately, I can't think of another word that I would use to describe that, so I'm just gonna say fear. I understand that scary and fear have a lot of overlap and similarities, but for the purposes of this video, fear and scary are gonna be two different things. Everybody on board? Let's go. So when you think about a jump scare, that is like the ultimate form of a fear response. That is your brain, the monkey brain that's in here, telling you, hey, something scary is coming after you. You better run or something terrible is gonna happen. That's just the natural response that's in your brain. When something that fills you with fear, your adrenaline spikes because your body is saying, hey, something wrong is happening. Go, get out of here. If we take it back all the way to like caveman times, that's the response your body has that says, hey, 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 hey. There's a bear in here, we need to go. And the reason we have that response is because when there is a threat or there is a danger, we ran. And the people who didn't run died. So that's what we're gonna call fear. In stories, movies, television, books, fear is what we feel when the classic jump scare happens. Something dangerous that wants to hurt you is coming directly at your face and you need to run. And of course, everybody knows about the fear responses. There's fight, flight, freeze, and I think there's two more. It's basically like how you're gonna respond. Are you gonna run away? Are you gonna fight it? Are you gonna run and hide? Are you gonna have paralysis and not be able to do anything? What are you going to do in response to that fear? Now, on the other hand, the other word I'm going to be using is scary. We're gonna define scary as the sensation when the creeps come about. When something, is right behind you. And you don't know what it is, and you turn around and there's nothing there. Scary is the thing that lurks in the shadows, and you don't know where it is, but you know it's dangerous. You know it's coming after you. We'll use this as our basic guideline. Afraid is what you feel when there is a physical reason for you to react. Something big, something scary, something that can hurt you is right there. React. Now. Go. And since it's the month of October, I want to talk about this a little bit. We've got horror movies, scary movies, we've got a lot of the stuff Stephen King writes. We've got horror television, which is a really interesting concept that I think has really not been developed how it should be. So things that fall into the afraid category is pretty much anything with a physical danger. You've got all your numbered serial killer movies, like those. You've got your dangerous trap movies. And hey, 'tis the season, we're gonna throw corn mazes and like haunted houses in there, and we'll consider that a type of media. Sound good? Who cares? My video. Now, scary is a lot harder to define because not everything creeps everyone out the same way. Now, I'll give you a personal example here. This right here, this genuinely kept me awake. So for those of you who don't know, this is a still from the Walking Dead comic book. Now, to set the scene a little bit, I was reading along in the omnibuses, these about that thick, that tall, compilation of comic books. Zombies don't really scare me. Like the originals, they're good. I like those. I love those movies. They don't scare me. Anything that's just a walking corpse and the fear comes from the numbers, I'm gonna put that in the afraid category. But this bad boy, this screwed me up. So I'm reading along, I've already made it through 2 of these omnibuses, and I'm halfway through the 3rd. I'm reading along, whoa, this is crazy. There's zombies that think. There's zombies that can use tools. What in the world? And then I turn the page and the zombie speaks. We whisper and the dead don't mind. This is our introduction to the next group of villains in The Walking Dead. The Whisperers. Now, of course, I think what made my skin crawl a little bit seeing this panel was mostly because I decided, all right, 3 more pages, then I'm done. This was my 3rd page. I see that. I am screwed up. I had to get to work the next day, so I put it down. I'm freaking out. What does that mean? What does that mean for the Walking Dead world? Are there new smart zombies? Is this an evolutionary process? Is something going to happen within this story that I did not see coming? Kinda. It's such a cool panel because they've set up within these omnibuses. They've set up, these are unthinking things. They are scary not because they are creepy, but because there are so many of them that we cannot stop them. All we can do is try to run, hide, defend ourselves if they come around. Though this panel by itself made me a better storyteller. Like I said, I don't get freaked out by zombies. I don't get freaked out by vampires or werewolves or anything like that. Any cryptids out there? I'm not really afraid of them because I'm a part of the best species on Earth. My skin's not super thick, my teeth aren't super sharp, I don't have any claws, and yet humans have absolutely destroyed, sometimes literally, which is very unfortunate, absolutely destroyed everything that could pose us any danger. Now, do things still pose us danger? Absolutely. They just happen to be about that big. But what this panel made me realize is that scary, creepy, chilling, tingly horror does not come from big scary monster. We bodied every big scary monster out there. Humans have such amazing, incredible power against the big scary things that are out there that I know there's nothing to fear. And yes, every year a few people get killed, and every year a few people go missing. And they're found later with proof of an attack by a predator of some kind. That's not what I'm talking about. That is fear. I'm talking about scary here. I want to watch a movie or read a book and not be able to sleep at night, just like this panel did to me. What that sense of spine-tingling chills taught me as a storyteller is that scary is about things being wrong. If you've been on the internet or you understand creepy just in general, you'll probably know what this graph is. This is the uncanny valley. The uncanny valley, if you don't know, is basically a graph of things that creep us out. This is showing how realistic something has to be before humans catch that it's not real and get creeped out by it. So over here we've got our cartoon characters, 2D animated, drawn, 3D animated, but in like a cartoony fashion. You've got like Bugs Bunny, and you got Mickey Mouse, and you got all those. And then we got this little dip. What's going on here? Now the interesting part about this graph is that it shows how weird things get when they get a little too real. So what's within this graph and within this dip is like 3D generated models that are not quite right, but there is still something in there that you see as human. And it gets a little weird, a little creepy. And maybe around here you've got like clowns, because clowns are human, they look human, 2 arms, 2 legs, they've got a face, everything's where it's supposed to be, but then they've got all that makeup on in a weird wig. And this is kind of the idea of where the fear of clowns comes from. Something is wrong about them. Now, of course, you've got over here the idea of where something is so good and so realistic that it doesn't even register to our eyes anymore. Like Love, Death, and Robots. If you've seen that show, and sometimes in some of the episodes you're confused of if that is an actual person or not, that's kind of where this section comes from. Make sense? Alright. And within that realm, within that dip, you've got all sorts of things. Nothing is like defined as being in the uncanny valley. Things are just kind of in there or they aren't. And I think that uncanny valley is an excellent representation of what I'm talking about. Things that are off, things that are wrong, they're scary. They're creepy. Now, since I did it for the afraid category, I'll do it for the scary category as well. The reason we find things that are mostly human, but not quite so scary, that has to do with infections and plagues and deformities. If you're living in your rural village and you see Tom, and you know what Tom looks like, but then Tom comes with spots all over his face one day, and they're all over his body, and something is clearly wrong, you're gonna wanna stay away from Tom. That's just a natural human reaction to things that are wrong. So how do we apply this into our storytelling? How do we apply this characteristic of things being wrong into our horror and into our scary stories and into our horror media? Well, there's a great catalog for that. The SCP Foundation. If you don't know what that is, I highly recommend giving it a look. Some of the more famous creepypastas originate there. If you've ever heard the story of like the IKEA that like people are trapped inside of and they can't leave and the employees don't have faces, that was from the SCP Foundation. And that's also a really good example of what I'm talking about. So within this story, and I do not remember the number, so I'll pop it up right here. Thank you. Within this story, people are trapped within an IKEA. And within that IKEA, there are workers. And those workers, they wear the yellow, they wear the blue, and they have no face. Classic IKEA. Now this SCP story does kind of waver between worlds. It is the physical presence of the workers, but it also falls within our scary definition because we don't know anything about the IKEA. The exit moves around, there are shelves that move around all the time. We don't know what the workers are, what they want, and something about that, when you read it, is just really creepy. The entire store is just wrong in one way or another. And yes, the no-face employees is a little overdone in creepypastas and in media. But what I think does that humanity but wrong really, really well, Attack on Titan, baby. Season 1 of Attack on Titan is so cool and so interesting. Season 1 is horror television done right. They've got these weird proportions and their smiles are too wide, and sometimes their eyes are too big, and sometimes they run around like a little fairy princess, and it's so weird because you know all they want is to eat people. Later seasons get into that more, but we're talking about season 1. We don't know what they want. They are wrong. We as the audience know they are 3 stories tall and all they want is to kill me, and they are a perversion of everyone that I see around me. Good old Tom with the red spots? Well, he doesn't have those red spots anymore. Instead, he was eaten. And the only thing protecting me is these walls. I don't know where those walls came from, mind you, but they're protecting me right now. So I love those walls. And even when we as the audience are told there is a way to beat these things, we almost don't believe it. When that first wall comes down, spoilers for season 1, sorry. But when part of that first wall comes down and these giant, disgusting monsters that just want to kill, I do not know what they want, they just want to kill, come in, and the people that I'm told know how to kill them, panic. They panic and they don't know what to do. As the viewer, that puts fear in my heart. The people that are supposed to protect me don't know what to do. That'd be like if in the Dracula story, Van Helsing was like, yeah, I know garlic does something to him. Oh, there's Dracula. I have garlic in my hand. What do I do with this again? There's a level of incompetence there in the people that are supposed to be protecting me from the monsters that makes everything so much worse. Wrong. Things that are wrong are scary. Things that are like what you know, but twisted and perverted and corrupted. That is scary. It's not just a big old monster coming at you. That can work. Attack on Titan, big scary monster coming right for you. It is the mystery and the lack of knowledge, not knowing how to defeat your enemy, that strikes people, humans, right in their soul. Like I said earlier, as a species, we have figured out without a doubt how to eliminate every other species, except for those little tiny guys. Those guys are still a problem. But we have figured out how to destroy everything that posed a threat to us. And because we got so good at it, some of them don't exist anymore. We are so good at destroying the things that are scary, at destroying the things that might go bump in the night, things that once just the mention of caused fear in our hearts, that when something comes along that we can't understand, something comes along that we don't know how to beat, that's terrifying. It's not terrifying because they're running at me right now. It's not terrifying because it's right behind me, isn't it? Things are scary and they are terrifying, and they will make you stay awake at night when you don't understand them, when they are wrong. When everything you know goes counter to what this thing is, and yet it exists anyway, that is wrong. That is scary. So go forth, my horror weirdos, and take that knowledge of what is wrong is scary, and put that in your stories. See how it works out. See if the fear that a jump scare can give you is anything compared to the chills and the creeps and the unsettling nature of something that is scary. And with that, like, comment, subscribe, and send this video to your horror movie buff friend. Have a great day. Boo!